Hello, my name is Sonali and I welcome you all to the latest episode of Around the World in 7 Days. Brazil is a country that had developed relations with the United States of America during the period of its independence. When Brazil became independent in the year 1822, America was the first one to recognize it as a country in the year 1824. Also, during the Second World War, it was associated with the Allied countries. Because of this, it became the first country in Latin America to send troops to the World War II. During this time, Brazil sent the Brazilian forces to assist the US-led Italy campaign. Such was the nature of their relationship that in the early 20th century, US-Brazil relations were sometimes referred to as an unwritten alliance. But now times are changing, and so are the relation dynamics. Brazil's closeness with China is increasing, and the policies of the leftist government there are being held responsible for this. Actually, last year, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva became the new president of Brazil. He belongs to the leftist ideology. Now you must be thinking that what is the point of telling all these things today? So in the past, President Lula was on a 4-day visit to China. During the visit, he met Chinese President Xi Jinping. After this, about 15 bilateral agreements were signed between the two countries. Now the question is, on what issues have these agreements been made? Who will benefit from them? Are these agreements for the development of Brazil, or do they have some political motive? We will try to find answers to these questions, but first let's take a look at the relationship between China and Brazil. China-Brazil relations are considered to have been established in the year 1974, when the Brazilian military government established diplomatic relations with China. But in fact, the strong relations between these two countries started in the year 1993, when the then Chinese President Jiang Zemin visited Brazil. During this, the leaders of the two countries had made an agreement to establish a long-term and stable strategic partnership on the basis of mutual benefit. Under this, both focused on economic and technical cooperation. The deal proved to be a milestone in China-Brazil relations. It has been of great importance in increasing friendship and cooperation between the two countries. Through this, both countries have made smooth progress in political, economic, scientific, and cultural fields. As a result of this, in the year 1999, the first Earth resource satellite was successfully launched jointly by China and Brazil. This was seen as a concrete expression of the strategic partnership between them. Since then, there has been frequent exchange of high-level visits between the two. In this, their foreign ministers meet regularly for political consultations. Apart from this, both countries share similar views on many important international issues. Both of them are members of organizations like BRICS. Notably, this year marks the 30th anniversary of the establishment of the strategic partnership between China and Brazil, while next year they will celebrate the 50th anniversary of their diplomatic relations. Now the question comes, for what have the recent agreements been made? Also, what does it mean? So if reports are to be believed, President Lula was on a visit to further Brazil's business ties with China. A delegation of about 240 businessmen had also reached China along with him. During this visit, the President of Brazil had a special focus on the agriculture sector. This can be gauged from the fact that Lula was accompanied by 90 representatives from the agriculture industry. Most of these delegates were associated with the meat industry. It included 10 executives from JBS SA, the world's largest meat company. These representatives wanted more and more access to the Chinese market. Indeed, Brazil is promoting a process of re-industrialization. At the same time, it is also committed to solving problems like poverty. That is why President Lula has taken away from China a suitcase full of various bilateral agreements and cooperation plans. These include cooperation in areas such as trade, industrial investment, social and rural development, and building a state-of-the-art environmental satellite. Apart from this, it also includes the development of technology for 5G telecommunications, internet, and cybersecurity. Under the agreement, both the countries have agreed to form a working group to facilitate bilateral trade. The group will study ways to avoid unnecessary barriers to doing business. The two countries have also agreed to renew their space cooperation and build a seventh satellite in the China-Brazil Earth Resources Satellite Program. These satellites are being used to gather information on deforestation, agriculture, drought, land use, reservoirs, and monitoring the Amazon. Under a special agreement between the two countries, Chinese news agency Xinhua and the Brazilian news agency EBC, that is Empresa Brasil de Comunicao, will jointly share news and a limited number of photos every month. Significantly, at present, there is a trade of about $150 billion between Brazil and China every year. In the year 2022, the Brazilian exports to China stood at about $89 billion. Brazil mainly exports iron ore, soybeans, and crude petroleum to China, while semiconductor equipment accounts for the largest share of exports by the Chinese to the Brazilian market. Thus, Brazil is China's most important economic and political partner in South America. Domestically, however, the partnership with China has been controversial for Brazil in some areas. The partnership is particularly criticized by Brazil's manufacturing sector. The sector has been facing stiff competition from Chinese products. Also, it lacks reciprocal access to the Chinese market. But despite this, Brazil favors a stronger relationship with China, as China is a major market for its products. So that's all in today's episode. See you in the next episode. But before that, let's note down the question based on today's story. China-Brazil relationship is much more strategic than an economic partnership. Comment.